right, welcome back. Time to mix it up on some of the day's other headlines. The Vatican, a few decades too late on sex abuse, although it's not totally clear that they've arrived even. Scott Brown actually skipping the Tea Party in Boston and Conan with a brand new gig in cable. We begin, though, with the Vatican stating the obvious, a few decades on the late side, but it's the first time they've said it, so we'll note it just for their sake. They explicitly came out and told church officials, this is a shocker, that in the event, I hope you're listening, in the event that there is sex abuse by a priest, molestation in the confessional, anywhere, report it to the police. Crazy, I know. The order coming in a new set of guidelines released by the Vatican. New set. Because before, you see, if there was sexual abuse, the key was don't report it to the police. Apparently that's reversed. Meantime, a group of atheists in Britain, I don't know why it takes atheists to do this. Apparently only atheists, I don't know. I can't even figure that one out. But they're calling for the Pope to be arrested on his visit there later this year, as if this has anything to do with apparently molesting children in the confessional. Highly related to whether you believe in God. I didn't know. They want to arrest him on charges of crimes against humanity. Meanwhile, back here in the States, lawmakers in Connecticut are trying to remove the statute of limitations for adults who would like to file child sex abuse cases, in some cases, decades after the fact. Bear in mind that the state's Catholic bishops have just come out against that measure. Oh, man. You get the joke. Here to mix it up is our panel, Democratic strategist and Vatican expert. He's not really a Vatican expert, Chris Kafinas, and similar Vatican expert, J.P. Freire, associate editor for the Washington Examiner. Obviously, none of the three of us are experts in the Vatican, although most of us have a basic familiarity on institutions, institutional functionality, the instincts for self-preservation, and the fundamental wrongness of sexual abuse of children. Why, JP, do you think it's so difficult for the Catholic Church as an institution to find a rational solution to an obvious problem?
Well, it's an obvious problem. I don't know if the solutions are so obvious. I mean, the way in which the church has been dealing with these things, I mean, obviously, the authorities need to be contacted in the case that any crime may have been committed.
Well, that's new, though. That's new. That's just as of today.
What is
according
new?
To the church.
No. What is new is that these guidelines have been placed on the website. That is what is new. But the Vatican has said that this is something that they've been doing for some time. Now, I haven't reported enough on the Vatican to really know, when they actually did institute that policy. But I have to say that this is a 2,000-year-old organization, more or less, and that they've been working on it, and that they have a very old PR infrastructure, so they can't quite counterspin a lot of these stories. Now, to address one of the things that you had brought up about the statute of limitations on claiming child abuse, the reason we have that is because of evidence, because of equality before the law. The main thing is that if you make an accusation, it is just as damning as frequently as evidence can be, and that it can be really devastating to a community if the priest is accused of something.
What's interesting to me, and Chris, I want to get you in here, is why would the Catholic bishops have such an interest in making sure that statute of limitations isn't expanded? So I don't care what the evidence aspects are, of all the special interests that might lobby against expanding the statute of limitations for child sexual abuse, why is one of the special interests lobbying against that the bishops?
Well, I mean, listen, let's be brutally honest about it. I think it's the fact that they do not want more light shed on a very terrible past. I mean, this really isn't about, an organization's inability to handle bad PR. This is about children. This is about children who were sexually abused. There is no moral qualifier to that in my book, especially as a father.
Nor in mine.
As a father of two children, that's it. And I don't understand how any organization, I don't care if it's a church or not a church, we should be in the business, every single one of us, of protecting children. They cannot protect themselves.
You're crazy. What about the Pope? If we protect the children, the Pope could lose his job, Chris.
Well, to be honest, I really don't care. To me, the safety of children is paramount. And, again, this is one of those things I think you realize and you fully appreciate more when you have children. It is not something that in my book is negotiable. Yeah. And so the notion of not having rules
in place. The
Catholic
Church is saying it's negotiable. No one in this conversation, JP, but the Catholic Church is saying it's a negotiable implicit by their actions and their willingness to write checks when they get busted for sexually molesting children. That is inherently a negotiation, as opposed to dealing with the criminal justice system where you're not allowed to negotiate, or at least you're negotiating negotiating with the state as opposed to somebody with a checkbook, I guess would be my take on it.
I mean that makes perfect sense insofar as saying that if they're going to deal with the law, they're going to deal with the law, and that these are crimes that need to be addressed and adjudicated
think sexual
rather
abuse
than
of children, right?
Absolutely. But on the other hand, the reason why you have Catholic bishops opposing the extension of the statute of limitations is that means that you can constantly accuse or try to bring up charges that may be spurious, and that is a genuine concern.
That's
why we have statute of limitations in the first place.
Do you actually think most people do that willy-nilly?
No, of course. I'm not saying that willy-nilly. What I am saying, though, is that there are people who abuse the law, and we have lawsuits that are frivolous. We have people bringing up sexual harassment charges when they aren't actually sexual harassment charges, and that's why we have the system of justice, which is why it's good that the Vatican is taking these steps.
But I'm sorry, the Catholic bishops, as the special interest, trying to make sure the statute of limitations is not expanded. Of all the people,
they're citizens too.
That strikes me as rather funny. But again, I'm with you, Chris. Children, sexually abusing children in the home, in the church, in the street, upstairs, downstairs, around the bend. Let's not do that. What do you say as a country? And we should enforce that wherever it happens. Why we allow the Catholic Church to negotiate their way out of it, don't understand. Senator Scott Brown snubbing the Tea Party and Sarah Palin, even though the Tea Party takes credit for putting him in office. Welcome to politics. The Boston Herald reports the Massachusetts Republican declined an invitation to appear with Palin at a Tea Party rally scheduled in Boston, risking the ire of the activists who indeed helped to fuel his win. Smart or stupid politics, JP?
I mean, the Tea Partiers are not his constituency in Massachusetts. The people of Massachusetts are his constituency, and he needs to pay attention to them. Now, that said, it would be a good idea, of course, to maintain a conservative record and to show that he is as conservative a Republican as can be elected in Massachusetts and constantly vote on the side of limited government. And that in of itself will make Tea Partiers happy. It doesn't matter if he shows up at a rally with Sarah Palin,
Chris,
because she's not the voter.
Is it a good call to take Tea Party support and outside of state money and then snub the outside of state money and the Tea Party support because you know that nobody in the actual state you represent, or very few, would actually approve of that? Is that what American politics has come to?
Well, clearly. I mean, what I think Scott Brown realized is he got elected in Massachusetts. The fact is, I mean, he, I think, has to run probably closer to the center in order to have a chance to run for re-election. He has to run for re-election in about 2 years. I think the Republicans, the conservatives, thought they got a true conservative. They didn't. But I think this is also the state of where the Republican Party is. They have this real civil war. For all the talk about the Democratic Party's woes, the Republican Party has some serious issues, and they go much farther than the Republican National Committee going to voyeur clubs. It's basically about the fact that you have a Republican Party in a civil war between itself, between a Tea Party faction and the more kind of, I guess, centrist fashion of the Republican Party, however you want to describe it.
Hold your thought, JP. My clock has run. We'll bring you back.